Hello, I'm FX Toycat, and a brand new update just came out because Minecraft 1.20 has been replaced with Minecraft 1.20.10, and usually the 0.10 part of that update would imply this is the first bug fix for Minecraft Bedrock's 1.20, but in this particular case, it actually doesn't fix some of the biggest bugs, and instead adds a brand new gameplay mechanic, instead adds a change to the crafting system, some of which is very big and positive, and some of which is very much less so, and yeah, this kind of embodies Minecraft's idea of adding fairly minor updates frequently throughout the year, rather than just going with the one big one, and you'll see that as we explain the brand new stuff in 1.20.10, and exactly why Microsoft is doing this, and why this is the future of Mojangs updates for the Bedrock edition. With that said, the brand new mechanic is short sneaking. You might have seen this somewhere before. It's been available on Java for a while. It is very exciting because you'll be able to go through gaps that were previously never possible. This is a 1.5 block sneak that I can very easily do, as you can see, and there are all sorts of other ones that do exist. So right here, for example, you can go from here up into a composter, which is really fun in my opinion. However, you can also trap yourself in the middle of one, so be careful about that. But yeah, as you can see, there are all sorts of fun gaps that are possible. For some reason, you can't do this one if it has a carpet on top, which is super strange. But now in Minecraft, you can go through all sorts of holes, not just ones that you previously thought were impossible, but also previously ones that really should have been possible, but just never were. Look at this, for example. These fences over here really look like you should be able to get through, but for some reason, that was never something you could do until just now, where you can short sneak your way through it. This is a great vanilla parity change in my opinion, and it's one I'm very happy with, unlike the next ones where I'd say it's much more of a mixed bag. So the other huge feature in 1.20.10, again, bear in mind this is a minor update in the grand scheme of things. We don't have anything brand new about camels, although actually they have changed camels, we'll get to that later. But interestingly enough, something really fun you might notice is that if you go to the crafting table, some recipes have changed. Some of these are universally positive, so I can take my... Really, I had to use warp planks. I picked a bad example. So I can take my acacia planks that I definitely didn't steal from the saloon over there, and I can now make myself a boat. Oh my god, this has finally happened. We thought it never would, but on Bedrock you can make a boat without doing that super annoying shovel process first, like, oh, better make some of these into one of these so I can do that. You know, none of that is no longer required, which is so revolutionary. The boat no longer requires a shovel, and if you try to put one there, Minecraft says, no, what are you doing? This is stupid. Why would we have a shovel in there? Because Minecraft crafting recipes are just not realistic, and they finally made this user-friendly change. It is a bit weird, I do have to admit, that sometimes Minecraft has some really odd recipes in there. So another one that I would say has changed, not necessarily for the positive, is the way that barrels are crafted now, because barrels used to be crafted using a whole ton of sticks. It used to be, if you want to see the recipe, I'll show you right now because it won't work. Here is my barrel recipe. Oh yeah, where is my barrel though? Well, the barrel has gotten a lot more expensive. 6 sticks is a lot less demanding than 6 planks, but that is what you need now to craft a barrel, because they wanted to make this the same between Java and Bedrock, which I would say fair enough, but also, you know, because, but also I think just the barrel was kind of meant to be the cheap crafting. I felt like it was a cheap chest. It doesn't open fully, and it kind of is a bit lame, but I guess the benefit is the fact that you can put it anywhere, even in places where a chest could not open. So, for example, if you try to place a chest right over here, it won't work. In fact, let me show you what happens when you try to place a chest over there. It won't work because there is a block above it, so no chest for me, but the barrel works just great, so I guess that's meant to be the buff to it, but still, or that's meant to be the use for using it. But the other fun thing about this is if I filled my barrel with all my fun items I've accrued so far, and then break it, that will now be centered in the block. It used to kind of explode a little everywhere. Well, well, you know, apparently it still explodes everywhere because the changelog lied to me. An interesting thing about this update is how many bug fixes it has that don't necessarily work. So another one that's really fun is that villagers will now actually be able to pick up torchflower seeds and plant them. As you can see, I set up a whole demo for this. I hope you like it. But let me show you something fun. Let's give the villager a way to get to the place where torchflowers can be planted, just to prove it works. There it is. And now let's give the villager some of my torchflower seeds. The bug that they claim to have fixed is that villagers could actually plant these, but they wouldn't be able to pick them up, and so they just don't anymore. All of these plants I had before, I still do have now. Throw them again, really trap this guy in, make sure he can't do anything but pick them up, and he still won't be able to. I was gonna say whether this is true for pitcher pods is something else, but apparently he won't pick up pitcher pods either. This villager is very stubborn to change, it seems, because he doesn't want anything to do with my new seeds, but that is another bug that is supposed supposedly be fixed to this, but not really. Again, it's interesting because usually the 0.10 bug fixes are all about making bug fixes, but in this case, they haven't fixed some of the biggest ones from 1.20. I do feel as though the bugs in 1.20 deserve some attention. Never mob spawning is a great one, but also, for example, the way that ruins work, trail ruins, is really broken. There's this giant gap between the top and the middle, and they haven't addressed it yet in 1.20.10, but the good news is there are 1.20.20 betas. They're out right now. They're slowly working their way through that, and they haven't fixed that one either. So I really cannot answer you what's going on with this update. But yeah, the good news is we do get the short sneaking. The good news is we get the new crafting changes. And again, I would say the boat and the barrel are both controversial. Some people like the new, some people like the old. Something that no one likes is the fact that when you go to a crafting table, no longer can you put cobwebs in there because that recipe has been removed. This seems like a weird thing to do in a minor update too. Again, like I feel like, although, you know, most people might have noticed if they watch videos like this one, it just seems really weird that like a recipe that used to exist now doesn't because of a bug fix. It makes people think the bug fixes might be a negative thing, not just a solely positive thing, which is ideally meant to be the goal, right? Speaking of ideally the goal, this video, which is of course on the 01.05.1 update, man, that is my favorite update. That could also be a date, I guess. That could be the 1st of May 2001, you know, or the year one, you know, the year one have to have happened at some point. Isn't it crazy? At some point, the year was like, it's year 7. Speaking of 7, if you don't already know, July is the month in which my birthday is, the 7th month in the year, but I figured I'd do what lots of causes have been doing for a while now, and take something that was a day and make it into a whole month. There's Zombie Awareness Month, there's Second Chance Month, there's Dry January. I mean, I'm just saying, you can't control the weather, guys. Anyway, the point here is to say that I'm making my month-long celebration, and so for the next couple of weeks, you can expect a lot more live streams, including one which will be in my Let's Play world, so I can, you know, add some more stuff to it before I add it to the marketplace and that copy of there. And so for the ton of people who've been asking me when I'm going to do my next money whoring stream, you know, the idea of like, well, you pay X, you get a little thing in my Let's Play world, I'm going to do one for July 13th, the last for quite some time, and so I figured I would sell people a desert well. Is anyone interested in buying one? I guess we'll find out on Thursday, but I'm looking forward to adding some of those to my world that are going to have signs for people's names. Anyway, with that said, that's just an important announcement before we go back into this update, because it does have a couple of new experimental features, but before we dive into those, it's a bug fix update in some forms, so let's go into some of the big ones that they fixed, because as well as the usual technical stuff, like making the unable to connect errors less likely, they also have the farmer villagers will now interact with torchflower seeds and pitcher pods. They can pick up the seeds and plant them, but they will not harvest the torchflower or pitcher crop, and you know, that's fine, that totally happened. The sound played when a camel is dashing is no longer played repeatedly. They fixed an issue of jump boost effect not affecting magma cubes. That is very fun to see. They fixed boats on ice disappearing when client-side chunk generation was enabled. This is a very odd one, but I'm glad that your boats don't disappear, and also that they're easier to recraft if you wanted to. We also have mobs back to normal despawn rate during the night. We have camels now play a walking animation when taking damage while standing still, and sniffers can no longer dig up seeds in the air. Also, mobs will no longer continue to freeze without powdered snow if there is a powdered snow block near the north and west sides. We also have a range of other bug fixes, such as, for example, the water texture now looks correct. It was weirdly lava, but blue for quite some time, and then also they've made it so a pickaxe is the best way to mine a packed mud block as opposed to a shovel. You can see the difference right here. A shovel is now slower than a pickaxe. This is one of those interesting decisions that I always assumed was like actually intentional until they change it, where you're like, oh, that was a bug the whole time. One of the interesting quirks of Minecraft and indeed 1.20.10, but yeah, there are all sorts of other bug fixes and changes they've made, so all sorts of new blocks will now generate sculpt vibrations, and also it should be noted that there are all of these changes if you want to read through all of them, but the big ones I think people care about are people who are looking to play with experimental features, because there's two big ones that might be coming into the next update, if not an update very soon. So this is my new, very totally legit survival world that I'm going to play like a YouTuber, and oh wow, look at this crazy lucky drop I got that has a diamond axe, diamond pickaxe, an end portal frame, and a night vision potion. Wow, that's incredibly handy, but as a new player, I just got myself a new recipe, because recipe unlocking is something that Java has had for a while, but they're bringing it over to the Bedrock edition, or at least they're trying to. It has a lot of interesting quirks to it in my opinion, but the biggest of these is the fact that every single time you do basically anything, you get some new recipes. So I broke down a tree, I get myself some new recipes, and now I'm going to craft some of those into planks, and that's going to give me new recipes as well, because planks can craft more things than trees. Craft some of those into sticks, and what's that? More recipes yet. You can see them all in the top right. This is actually an incredibly fun system in some ways, but also a bit of a weird one, right? But anyway, with that said, I'm just here to mostly craft myself some trapdoors, because I'm sure you understand the basics behind how this crafting works. There's a really fun one in my opinion, which is when you jump in water, it tells you about the boat recipe, because it's like, hey, there's a new recipe you should try. But yeah, recipe unlocking is a new idea. You will always be able to craft things with or without the recipe unlocked. This is just the way of showing you things that you've got one of the items for. I have string, and so it's letting me know I just need honeycomb and I can make candles. This is actually a good idea for new players. It's just also probably a bit annoying for old ones. But speaking of being annoying for old players, here's something you might find to be frustrating as a Bedrock player. If you want to get in a 1-block gap, you currently need to use water, but as of this update, short crawling, you'll be able to just use a trapdoor and sneak your way in there. This is going to be really, really cool when it comes to the main game. I don't know why I didn't make it at the same time as short crawling, but yeah, you can do this wherever you want for as long as you like, and yeah, crawling is now a real thing as opposed to just swimming, but on land, which I think is a big improvement personally. But yeah, I'm sure you're asking not just what bug have they fixed, what's in experimental, but I'm sure you're asking yourself, what is the deal with these point updates? When should I expect the next one of, oh wow, look at that, got myself a new block again. When should if I get another stone, will that create another recipe too? No, it won't. Okay, that's interesting. But I'm sure you're not just asking these simple questions right now about bugs and about experimental gameplay. I'm sure you're wondering, what is the strategy for Minecraft with these updates? And I'm glad you asked, because I have an answer. Man, this looks really weird. If you pay attention to the top left during any of that, none of this makes any sense, but that's Minecraft. It all looks beautiful, and I just got a new recipe. Heck yeah. Just like how Minecraft is always going through different recipes for how they should release Bedrock updates. This is something interesting because when they first announced Bedrock, they had an update every 2 months. This meant they split the Java updates, say Pillage and Village, was split into a bunch of smaller updates for the Bedrock version. A lot of people liked this, but a lot of people were kind of confused as to why crossbows would come at one time and stairs and slabs another time, and it just meant that neither of these updates were really hitting the spot that people really wanted, so they stuck to one big update a year, and then they didn't really do too much on top of that. Now we're kind of going back towards the previous system, but instead of having brand new content, they're not giving us 1.21 stuff early, or indeed they didn't give us 1.20 stuff early, but instead what they're doing is while, you know, the Java team are doing whatever the tech work is happening behind the scenes on those snapshots they're not releasing, but while the Java team does their thing, they're working on some parity between Bedrock and Java. There are all sorts of improvements that can be made to the game, even while they're not directly working on new features, and some of those things are parity, and you know, I do have to say, if we had all the parity changes in the world we could have made, was the cobweb to string one really a priority? But I digress. I do think that there are all sorts of issues of the way that they've approached this, but that is what we're kind of seeing, and some of these parity features are actually quite big. I think a big one that should be added, if they're looking for something big to do anyway, would be either the new world types from Java, or the spectral arrows, or even just the regeneration and combat system. Any of these 3 things would feel like entire mega updates on Bedrock Edition without actually adding any brand new content, but it does remain to be seen exactly where the Bedrock team are trying to take things. Are they mostly working on 1.21 now, and it's a small crew working on 1.20.20 and 1.20.30, or how is that going? I'll have to wait and see, just like the rest of you, but this is one of those big curiosities. I'm sure you're all very aware the number of times I've said that can be future me's problem, and then future Toycat has to deal with the big problem, and maybe it's a bit of a problem, but you keep rolling the problem for, you know, double it and give it to the next guy. That's what I keep doing with future Toycat. Just double my problems, give it to him, and in the same way, if you want to get yourself a shirt, which again, that my goal is always to have just kind of nice shirts. They don't need to be merch of anything. I mean, obviously, this is the Toycat cat. I like it a lot. Do you like it a lot too? I love the design. I love all of the 3 new designs, but if you want to get your hands on one, ibxtoycat.store. They're all great. They're all brand new. If you want to be one of the first people in the world to wear one, then go there today. Speaking of places you can go today, as soon as this video is over, I am going to be streaming a challenge. I'm going to call it the Caveman Challenge, but I will not be going above Y0. I'll spawn in a cave, and I'll try to make Minecraft work in a cave. I'm really terrified about exactly what that means, but it's a challenge I'm going to embark upon, and we'll see how well it goes. Anyway, I hope you found this video to be useful, because 1.20.10 1.10 is the bug fix, which doesn't fix a lot of bugs that it claims to fix, as well as not really fixing a lot of the bugs the community wanted fixed, but it does add some new features, and I think on balance that makes it a good thing. I'm just going to enjoy crafting easy boats, but let me know what you think about the updates in the comments down below, and for now, I hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe if you really want to see more, because I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. You know, I really need to talk about how many bugs Minecraft has at this point that are so mission critical that are just being unresolved, but maybe tomorrow. Anyway, thank you. Goodbye. Man, I hate bugs. They're coarse and tiny and they get everywhere. Especially in the summer. Oh, you can't see that it's summer behind me. Okay, wait. Ash, Ada, look at me. I'm in summer now. Okay, there's too many bugs. You should get rid of your bugs by subscribing to IBX Toy Cat.